So you're at your dentist's office for the denture wax try-in visit. Your dentist takes the denture wax try-in, sticks it in your mouth, hands you a mirror, and asks, "So, what do you think?" Well, here are 5 things you need to check during the wax try-in visit. Hi, I'm Dr. Rich. I'm a general dentist with over 25 years of experience, and here are 5 things you need to check during your denture wax try-in visit, because it's important to get these things right now at this visit, because it's very easy to change things around when the teeth are set in wax and the gums are made out of wax. Item number 1, the shade of the teeth. Make sure it's the shade of tooth, denture tooth, that you chose. If you don't remember what shade you picked, ask your dentist to show you the shade guide so you could take a look and compare it. Now, depending on what shade guide you use, there may be a little bit of variation between the shade guide and the denture teeth, but it shouldn't be a drastic difference. A B1 on the Vita shade guide, which is a shade guide for porcelain crowns, is very similar to the B1 of a denture tooth. Ideally, if your dentist has a denture tooth shade guide, that's going to be much more accurate for it. But again, the differences are not going to be big. It's going to be little subtle changes. Sometimes denture teeth have a little bit more characterization in them than a porcelain shade tab does. Again, it's very important that you like the shade that you picked at this visit, because it's very simple. If you don't like it, if it's too light, too dark, it's hard to tell just from the tab previously. Now you can see how the teeth look in your mouth. So look at them, make sure you love the color, because once the teeth are processed and the denture is done, basically, the teeth are set in acrylic, it's a huge job to strip out all the old teeth and put new ones in. So get it right now. Number 2, the size of the denture teeth. Make sure the teeth that are in the wax try-in are appropriately sized to your face. I tend to go by the width of the nose, basically side of each side of the nostril, and that distance should be roughly how wide your front 6 teeth are. And it should be, again, it should be appropriate. If you have somebody with a large face, you don't want to have really tiny little teeth. Same thing if you don't want teeth that are too large for your mouth, because it's going to look funny. And again, and here I'm going to be repeatedly stressing this through the entire video. Make sure you like the size now at this point in time, because again, it's easy to change stuff around in wax. Once the teeth are processed, it's a nightmare to change them. Number 3, position of the teeth. The teeth need to be in the correct position relative to your lips and relative to your mouth. When I first set teeth, I always like to show just a tiny bit, maybe a millimeter, of the bottom edge of the upper front teeth when the person has their mouth slightly open and their lip is at rest. You want to see just a little bit. It gives the person a more youthful appearance that way. You don't want to see all the teeth when the lip is at rest, and you also want to see some. And that's why your dentist will ask you to say 55 a lot, just so they can see that the bottom edge of your upper front teeth is just touching your lower lip when you make that F sound, because that's a good indication that the teeth are in the correct position. And then also look at them when you smile. If the teeth look too long when you're smiling, or if they look too short with the smile when you're smiling, that could either be a size discrepancy, the teeth are maybe too short or too long, or it could be a position issue. The teeth are just positioned in the wax inappropriately for your face and for your lips. Now is also the time to check to see how the teeth were set. Hopefully you talked to your dentist about this at the last visit, but teeth generally, your upper front teeth are not all the same. The bottom edges are not straight across in a line. Generally, the 2 front teeth are a little bit longer. Those are the central incisors. The lateral incisors, the little ones next to them, are usually about a millimeter shorter looking at the bottom edge. And then the canines are, again, a little bit longer. So it's kind of a staggered pattern. And that's, again, used to show a more youthful appearance, because younger people's teeth tend to be all different at those different levels. Over time, as people get older and their teeth start to wear down, people will tend to just kind of grind those. They'll get worn down into a smooth plane. So all the teeth, the bottom edges are straight across. So if you like that look, Hopefully your dentist discussed it with you, and you can have them set in that appearance. Sometimes some people think that actually looks a little bit more fake because everything's even and blocky. Again, personal preference, it's up to you. They're your teeth, you're gonna be wearing them. Also, if you're like somebody like me who had a space between their upper front teeth, a lot of people actually want that replicated in the denture so it looks more like themselves. I'll even ask people to bring in an old photo of them that shows their teeth so we can kind of try to copy it as best we can. It's easier nowadays with digital photos, but in the old days when somebody would bring a little 3x5 snapshot of them taken from a little Kodak a 110 camera from across the room, hard to see anything. But again, if you want to have a space between your front teeth, the diastema, now's the time to do it. Same thing. Some people actually don't want their teeth perfectly straight, and I've had done cases where I asked the lab to, we just twisted this, one tooth a little bit, not so that it looks like they need braces, but just so that it makes it look more natural and not perfect. But everyone is different, and a lot of people tell me too, Doc, this is the first time I can have beautiful, perfect, straight white teeth, and that's what we're going for. I'll post up a case that I did where somebody did that, and he was thrilled with them. So again, aesthetics is completely up to you. Whatever you choose, you need to be 100% happy with it. If you're not sure, think about it for a little bit. I'd rather move things around now until you're satisfied, because once the denture is processed, it's not easy to change anything. So now's the time to change things if you want to change it. Another thing to keep in mind though with tooth position is for a denture to function well, the teeth have to be over the jawbone underneath it, so that when you're biting down on them, the force can be transmitted from your jaw up into the denture teeth. So if you're somebody that has dentists call it a skeletal malocclusion. Basically, you either have a big overbite or a big underbite. Ideally, we're going to need to try to replicate that in the dentures so that they can function well. I mean, we can do little things to try to hide it a little bit, but because the dentures are not attached firmly to the jawbone, if we try to correct your bite that's normally, you have a huge overbite, and then we try to bring those teeth back and the lower, those upper front teeth back, those lower front teeth forward, it's not going to line up. They're not going to line up with your jawbones, and you're going to have trouble chewing. Same thing if you have a big overbite, somebody with a pretty strong chin where the lower jaw is further forward than the upper jaw. If we try to bring those upper front teeth forward and try to move those lower teeth back, the upper is going to never sit on the jaw, and it's going to move around, and it's not going to stay in place. So there's only so much you can do with dentures to correct those types of things. If you absolutely want your teeth to look perfect, then definitely think about going for an all-on-4 where that could be more easily corrected because it's going to be made out of titanium and porcelain. Number 4, and this is a big one that a lot of people forget, but it's lip support. With dentures, you're not just replacing the teeth, you're also replacing the gums that hold the teeth up. And the gum there, the flange of the denture, is what gives you lip support, both on your upper lip and on your lower lip. So if you got the teeth in the right position, that's half the battle. But some people need extra lip support, because without it, then their lip ends up looking sunken in. You end up getting a lot of extra wrinkles that might not be there normally. So what I'll do is I'll look at the patient's profile, see how their lips look. Same thing, ask them to look, and this one's an easy one. If the person needs some more support, I'll just add a couple pieces of wax to the outside of the denture to kind of fill that up and to get it so that it looks good. You don't want it so thick and bulgy so that it looks puffy, but you want it to look like you have a normal face, like you're not wearing dentures. And for this too, think about it now. Decide, make sure you get it to look how you like, because it's not easy to fix. If you're unsure, I always recommend let's leave it a little thicker, because once the denture is processed, I can always thin it down, remove some of that acrylic if you look too puffy. If you look sunken in, I can't add to it easily. Again, I'd have to send it back to the lab and they'd have to add it, and they're going to be guesstimating where to put it. So again, like with all these steps, at this visit, check it out, make sure you're happy with how it looks. Okay, and then number 5 is the bite. The bite should be fairly even, side to side, front to back. So you shouldn't be able to feel like you're touching in one spot more than anything else. It should be fairly stable. When your teeth when you close together, the teeth should all kind of fairly touch evenly. And when you're trying this out though, don't bite too hard because the teeth are just setting in wax. If you bite really hard, you're gonna push the teeth out of position and they're going to move around, and the dentist is going to have to rearrange everything. You might even have to start from scratch depending on how hard you bit down. So just bite lightly. Your dentist is going to check with the articulating paper. This is that blue carbon paper that bite down to make sure that there's blue spots on every teeth. That tells the dentist that they're touching. From this visit to the next visit, once the denture is processed, it is common for the bite to change a little bit. So when you get your final dentures, adjusting the bite is perfectly normal, and it happens, and it's required to be done. So that's not a big deal if a little bit of adjustment needs to be done. And here's a little bonus item. Don't worry about the fit. The wax try-in fit is purposely loose so the dentist and the dental lab can get the try-in, the wax base, on and off the plaster cast. If they made it fit tight, it's never going to come off. It's when the lab processes the denture and actually makes it on those casts, the only part that's reused is the denture teeth. Everything else gets replaced with acrylic. And then to remove that plaster cast, the lab actually has to break it to get it out of the denture. So at this point in time, it's normal for it to feel loose and move around a little bit. In some cases, I'll even put a little bit of denture adhesive inside the wax base, the wax rim, just so it can stay in a little bit better, to give the person a little bit better idea of what it's going to feel like. As long as your denture impression had good suction when that was being taken and your dentist had a little bit of trouble removing it from your mouth, chances are you're going to have great suction with the final denture. So there you have it, 5 things you need to check during your wax try-in visit. And again, make sure you're happy with every one of those 5 items at this point in time. It's easy to change anything and correct it now. Not everything comes back. Not every try-in is perfect on the first shot. Sometimes little tweaks do need to be done. Don't feel bad if you're unhappy with something. Let the dentist know now and get it corrected. If you wait till after the denture is processed and you tell the dentist you don't like the color, you don't like the size, it's going to be a nightmare because it's most likely going to involve extra costs for you, extra hassles and costs for the dentist too. And don't be surprised too, at the end of the wax try-in visit, if your dentist asks you to sign off on it. They'll actually give you a form to sign stating that you're happy with everything. You're happy with how it looks and the position of the teeth and the color of the teeth. That way, you're signed off on it, and now if you do any changes, it's you changing your mind afterwards. So be sure now. And remember, not every denture setup is perfect on the first try. Sometimes things need to get changed. Sometimes there's a miscommunication with the lab. Something's off a little bit. Teeth are in the wrong spot. These things happen. Actually, I think my record so far is I had one person that she had kind of a interesting bite relation. So we ended up doing 5 different try-in visits until we finally got the teeth in the right spot and everything, and the bite was good. So it does take time. Other times, I get the wax try-in back from the lab, pop it in the patient's mouth, everybody's happy, they're out of there in 5 minutes. Everything varies, every situation is different. And then if your dentist does ask you to sign the release, make sure you are completely happy with it. Don't feel pressured into signing off on something that you're not happy with. Get it corrected now. Now is the time. The wax try-in visit, everything is in wax, everything is easy to change around. It's extra time, but it's going to be worth it in the end. So, anyone watching have any trouble with their denture that wasn't caught at the wax try-in visit? What happened? Let me know down in the comments. What'd your dentist do? How was the issue fixed? Thank you guys all so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.